Okay, I'm going to say something that might surprise you, coming from someone who's been doing this for more than 30 years. There is no universally right answer to this question.
But there definitely are wrong answers for your specific situation.
And that's exactly what we're going to break down for you today.
Hey everyone, I'm Jacoby Maze, and I primarily work with buyers here in Central Ohio.
And I'm Jamie Maze, team lead at Maze & Company Real Estate Group. And I've been helping move-up buyers and sellers navigate this exact decision for over 3 decades.
Yeah, today we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna debate this genuinely, because Jamie and I actually see things from different angles, and we think that hearing both sides is gonna help you figure out what makes sense for you in your specific situation.
So here's the question on the table. If you currently own a home and you want to buy a new one, should you sell first, then buy, or should you buy first and then sell?
Yeah, both paths have real advantages, both have real risks, and which one is right for you just depends on a few things that we're gonna talk about today.
Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to start by making the case for selling first, because honestly, for most people in most situations, this is where I land. Here's why. When you sell your home first, you know exactly what you have to work with. You know your net proceeds. You know your down payment. You also know your budget for the next home. There's just no guessing, no estimating, no hoping the math works out. You have real numbers, and real numbers make for real decisions. And that matters more than people realize. I've watched buyers fall in love with a home that was just slightly outside of what they could actually afford, because they were working off of an estimate of what their current home would sell for, not an actual number. When the gap turned out to be bigger than expected, they either had to stretch uncomfortably or walk away from a house they'd already emotionally moved into. That is a painful situation. Selling first eliminates it entirely. There's also the negotiating position to consider. When you make an offer on a home and your offer is contingent on selling your current home, you are a weaker buyer, full stop. Sellers know that. Their listing agent knows that. And in a competitive market, which Central Ohio has been, a contingent offer is often the offer that loses. Sellers would rather take a slightly lower offer from a buyer who has already sold and is ready to close than take your higher offer and wait around hoping your home sells. Selling first removes that contingency. You go into the market as a clean and ready buyer. That is a significant advantage.
Okay, I want to jump in here because I hear you, but I think that there's a catch.
All right, go ahead.
I think that if you sell first and your home closes before you found your next place, where do you live?
Well, that's a great question. And the answer is you plan for it. You negotiate a rent-back agreement with your buyer where you stay in your home for a period of time after closing while you search. Or you line up a short-term rental, or you move in with family temporarily. None of these options are ideal. I'll be the first to admit that, but they are manageable. And for a lot of people, the financial clarity and the competitive position you gain are worth the temporary inconvenience. The key word there is temporary. We're always talking weeks, maybe a couple of months, not a year. And when I help sellers plan this out ahead of time, before they ever list, we build that buffer in intentionally so they're not scrambling.
Okay, so now my turn, because there is a real legitimate case for buying first instead of selling first. And I don't think it gets enough credit. Here's the scenario that I see all the time. Somebody has owned their home for 8, 10, 12, however many years. They've built up equity, and they're not in a rush financially. They've been watching the market, waiting for the right home to come along, and the one that checks all of the boxes. And then it shows up. If you haven't sold yet, you can move on it right now, right away, without the pressure kind of like of a ticking clock on your current home. Here's what happens to a lot of people when they sell first. They close on their home, they get their proceeds, and then they go looking for the next one. And maybe they can't find it. The inventory isn't there, the right house doesn't exist right now at the right price, in the right neighborhood, And suddenly they're living in a rental, their stuff's in some storage unit, and they're making compromises on the next purchase just because they need to land somewhere after selling their house. That is obviously not a fun position to be in. And for some buyers, particularly move-up buyers, who have very specific needs, who are looking in a specific neighborhood, who need a specific number of bedrooms or a certain school district, whatever it is, the inventory constraints are very real. Finding the right home just can take time. And if you buy first instead of selling first, you get some of that time.
But you're also carrying 2 mortgages while you wait for your current home to sell.
Potentially, yes, and that is the risk. I'm not going to pretend that that isn't a risk, but there's ways, just like you said before, to manage it for buyers who might have the financial cushion to handle it for a few months. It can absolutely be the right call.
Okay, that's fair. Let's talk money, because I think this is where most people actually make their decision and where I see the most mistakes. The biggest financial risk of buying before you sell is bridge financing. If you don't have enough liquid cash to cover a down payment on the new home without your current home's proceeds, you either need a bridge loan, which is a short-term loan against your existing equity, or you need to negotiate a contingency. Both of these options cost you something. Bridge loans have fees and interest. Contingencies cost you negotiation leverage. Now, if you have significant equity and strong cash reserves, if you can genuinely carry both properties for 3 to 6 months without it breaking you, then buying first becomes much more viable. But I want to be honest, a lot of people think they can handle that until they're actually doing it. 2 mortgage payments, utilities on 2 homes, maintenance on 2 properties, it adds up fast.
For sure, that is very fair. And that's exactly why this conversation we're having now needs to happen between your agent and your lender before you make any moves, not after you've found the house that you love.
Yes, before anything, get your financial picture crystal clear. What will your current home likely sell for? What will you net after commissions and closing costs? What does that leave you for a down payment? What does your lender say your purchasing power looks like with and without your current home's equity? Those numbers change everything, and they tell you which path is actually available to you.
Yeah. Okay, I want to bring in the market piece because it really does matter. The strategy that makes sense in a hot seller's market is not necessarily the same strategy that might make sense when inventory is higher and homes are sitting longer. Right now in Central Ohio, we are still very much so in a market where well-priced homes move very quickly. That has real implications for both sides of this decision. Obviously, for sellers, if you list your home and it's priced right, you should sell relatively quickly. That reduces the gap between selling and buying. The fear of being homeless for 6 months is a lot more manageable when your home goes under contract in 2 weeks or less.
Right, and that is something that I help clients plan around. When we sit down before you list, we talk about realistic timelines, how long your home will likely take to sell, what a typical closing timeline looks like, and how to use that window to get serious about the search on the buy side simultaneously. A lot of people think of selling and buying as 2 sequential steps: list, sell, then look for the next house. But it doesn't have to work that way. You can be actively searching while your home is on the market. You can be pre-approved, ready, clear on your budget before you ever get an accepted offer. And if you find the right home before yours closes, there are bridge solutions that can truly make it work.
Yeah, the market timing piece also matters for buyers who are trying to buy first. If you're in a market where your current home is likely to sell quickly once you list it, that limits your exposure. You're not carrying 2 mortgages indefinitely. You list and the home is under contract in a pretty reasonable time frame. The window of double payments it might be a lot shorter, but if you're in a slower micro market, if your home has some features that make it a longer sell, or if you're in a price point where with more inventory, that window could be obviously stretched out longer, and that changes all the math and all the different variables considerably.
That is correct. So before we wrap up the debate, I want to make sure we mention a few options that a lot of people don't even know exist, because the choice isn't always purely sell first or buy first. The first is a rent back agreement, when you sell your home, you can negotiate with the buyer to rent the home back from them for a period of time, usually 30 to 60 days after closing, while you finalize the purchase of your next home. You get your proceeds, you maintain housing, and you buy yourself time. This is really underutilized tool, and it's one of the first things I discuss with move-up sellers.
Yeah, and the second one, and we've already hit on this a little bit, but it is a bridge loan. This is a short-term loan secured by your current home's equity that gives you the cash for a down payment on the new home before your old home actually closes and sells and you get money from that. It's not free, there's obviously costs involved, but for buyers who have that equity on their home they own and the income to support it, it's a legitimate solution that lets you move on the right house without having to wait for yours to sell.
And the third, and this is newer, is what some people call a buy before you sell program. There are companies and lenders that will essentially front you the equity from your current home, let you buy the new one, and then list your old home after you've moved. The mechanics vary by program, and there also are costs involved in that option, so you need to read the fine print carefully. But for the right situation, it solves the timing problem cleanly.
Yeah, and the fourth is probably the most straightforward, the simplest. It's just to negotiate a longer closing or delayed possession on your purchase. If you can get 60 or 75 days to close instead of 30, that's going to give you a lot more runway to get your current home sold and closed. Sometimes it's just about asking for the time you need. Okay, so where do we actually land?
Here's my honest take after 30 years. For most people, especially people who are not in a strong financial position to carry two homes, selling first is the safer, smarter move. You have clarity, you have a clean offer, and you have leverage when you go to buy. The temporary housing solution is a real inconvenience, but it is solvable.
And from the buyer side, if you have the financial cushion, if you've found the home and you truly don't want to lose it, and if your current home is in a price range that will sell pretty quickly, buying first can absolutely be the right call. The risk is obviously real, but it's manageable with the right planning ahead of time.
And the bottom line is this: the right answer is not the same for everyone. It depends on your financial picture, your market, your timeline, and honestly, your risk tolerance. Some people cannot sleep at night if they might carry two mortgages. Other people would rather do that than live out of a suitcase for 2 months. And both are valid.
Yeah, what matters is that you make this decision intentionally with real numbers in front of you before you're emotionally attached to the next house.
Because once you fall in love with a house, objectivity goes right out the window. Trust me, we've seen it 1,000 times.
So talk to your agent, talk to your lender, make the plan before you need it. If you're in that move up position right now, if you're trying to figure out how to make all of this work, we would love to sit down with you and walk through the numbers together.
Yes, and there's truly no pressure and no pitch, just a real conversation about your situation and what makes the most sense for you specifically.
So if you are interested in that, the link to book a call with us is right below this video in the description.
And we've helped a lot of people navigate exactly this. We would love to help you too.
See you there.
Let's make it happen.